Whenever we think of the Second World War, and more specifically the tank side of things, the late war German Genfries are more often than not the first thing that comes to people's minds. The Genfries consist of the Panther, Tiger I, and Tiger II, which are arguably the most well-known of the many tanks that Germany had used over the course of the war. And whenever something is famous, there's bound to be some popular myths which aren't exactly true at all. This is especially the case for the Tiger I, with it being the most recognizable and memorable of the so-called German big cats. By far, the most popular myth surrounding the Tiger and the other big cats is that it's a nearly invincible tank, thus very hard for Allied tanks to kill. The Tiger was stated to have very thick frontal armor, which was somewhat true. However, due to the box-like nature of the tank's hull, it gave the Allies what is essentially a big flat target to shoot at. This box-like shape also meant that its armor would have only been slightly thicker than the medium tanks of that time. The real advantage the Tiger had was outranging its opponents due to the frankly good performance of the long 88mm that it had. Things would only get worse for the Tiger, as by the time the late war period rolled around, the Allies would have had tanks like the American M26 Pershing, which was armed with a 90mm gun, and the Soviet T-34-85, which was armed with an 85mm gun. Combine this with Allied air power and the upgunned 76mm Shermans coming into play, and the Tiger's armor would become all but non-existent. Another popular myth is that the Tiger single-handedly spurred the development of the 76mm M4 Shermans and other upgunned Allied tanks, which wasn't really the case either. The United States had already been trying to put the 76mm gun on the Sherman in August of 1942. Around the same time, the Tiger I was being produced. Even when the Tiger started to crop up, American crews thought the 75mm gun the Sherman originally had was fine, up until Panthers started to show up in greater numbers. The Soviets had a similar story, as after the Battle of Kursk, which is when they encountered the Panther for the first time, they began to upgun their existing T-34s with 85mm guns to replace the 76mm ones. So in the end, the Tiger didn't even influence the upgunning of Allied armored vehicles. If anything, the Panther ended up being the ultimate cause. Lastly, there's the myth that it took 5 Shermans to kill a single Tiger or Panther. Although there may have been scenarios where this would have been the case, if you do some research, the smallest American tank platoon at the time would have had at least 5 Shermans. The Americans never brought 5 Shermans because that's what they needed to kill a big cat. They brought them because it's what they always brought. What you actually need will entirely depend on the situation that you were put in. And in the end, the amount of tanks didn't really matter much, since whoever fired first in a tank engagement is more often than not the one who is ultimately going to win.